Good evening. My name is Christopher Fischer, and I am a candidate for the office of Commissioner in the City of Zion. I am not originally from here. I grew up in a small town called Plainfield, just outside of Indianapolis. I'm the oldest of 4 brothers. My wife Christy and I met in West Germany when we were in the Army. It happened that she was from Indianapolis, so she likes to say, I traveled 3,000 miles to meet the boy next door. We moved to Zion 22 years ago, and for the past 18 years, I have worked in human resources at the American Medical Association in Chicago. I am also a trustee on the board of the Lake County Public Water District, which serves Zion, Winthrop Harbor, and the State Park. I have been saying for years that small governments make big decisions. That's because we have some big problems. 2 of the biggest are high property taxes and nuclear waste storage. I have a proposal regarding these and some other ideas I hope to share with you this evening. I look forward to your questions and the discussion. Thank you.
I pose this to all the commissioners. What is it that you would do if you're elected or re-elected? What would you do differently to try and bring resources into the city of Zion? Money that will stay here and that dollar will flip over 3, 4, 5 times for at least the community.
I proposed an enterprise zone 2 years ago when I was running for this office. 2 years before that, I proposed a comprehensive development plan. All those things have come to pass. We need to have destination businesses like restaurants, clubs, nice places that people will come and visit Zion. Those are all important. The development plan actually restructures downtown. It makes Sheridan a calmer traffic area that allows pedestrian traffic. So those plans are already developed, they're already in place. We just have to execute them. It's going to take some time to do that. I want to propose something that's more out of the box. We need to flip the equation. There's been a lot of work done by Mayor Hill and various taxing bodies on trying to get federal funds as compensation for the nuclear waste storage. I think that's a good effort, but the 7-year limit does not compare to the 30-year or more minimum lifespan of a storage site. They can't move it. We're stuck with it. And I think it's morally and ethically, it's a moral and ethic imperative that this city and its residents be compensated. But I want to change the equation. I want to put homeowners first. I am proposing that we should start advocating as part of any compensation plan that homeowners, people who qualify for the homestead exemption, should get an increase in that exemption here in Zion. And I know a lot of people are shaking their heads on it, but we have special exemptions for veterans, we have special exemptions for seniors, we have a special exemption if you have a natural disaster, you can take your house off the tax roll for a couple of years. We're facing 30 years, I'm thinking 50 years of 1,000 tons of nuclear waste sitting in our front yard. And we can stand here and accept it, or we can start advocating for change. Now, if somebody has a better idea, I'd love to hear it. But right now, we need to start advocating for the homeowners. Also, if there's an incentive, the other night, Mayor Hill mentioned that the rental certification program, another thing I proposed before anybody else did, he mentioned that some of the landlords didn't like it, and those homes have now become home ownership. That's with a very minimal cost. Imagine what would happen if you made it more attractive for people to buy a home in Zion rather than just buy it as an investment property. We could start to shift home ownership. Because right now it's 60% rentals and only 40% home ownership. Let's start to flip the equation. So, The development plan is good. It's a lot of work that can be done. The enterprise zone, I hope we get it. If we don't get it this round, I would advocate for going after it again. The TIF district, I think that's a good move forward. But we have to think beyond what we think is possible and start pushing to make this community better. And that means stepping out of our box. So.
For all the candidates.
For all of you.
We talk about, and there is a push within the state to consolidate services. We're paying multiple services for multiple positions. All of you sitting here all represent multiple services. Whether it's Benton Township, whether it's Zion Township, whether it's the superintendent of schools, multiple services are hit upon us as taxpayers. What is your position on the consolidation of services?
Having read the Harris Policy Lab study and sat in on the township and city council meetings and hearing the deliberations, I have to agree that it's too soon to consider consolidating. Obviously, Benton Township has some issues with consolidation. As far as turning some of the services of the township over to the city, I think that's a little premature too. But maybe some of the back office functions, maybe accounting, some of the financial functions can be combined with city departments, with city halls, so that it relieves the township of some of that burden. It will take some logistics and some organization, and it might save a few dollars, and it may not. But the township does provide some very important human services, some social services, and I think that we should keep our eye on that, and we'll see what happens down the line. But I think generally in the state of Illinois, we need to have some kind of sense of a process for consolidation and whether it makes sense or not. Because we do have a lot of levels of government, and it adds some complexity to relationships between these different bodies. So it does need more study.
1 minute answers. Taxes. What are you gonna do? My home, I owe, my home is upside down by about 20%. And I said to my husband, did the math, and you wanna know what I said to him? I said, when we get to this point, when my home is worth what I owe on it, the sign is going in the front yard. I don't really wanna leave my home. I can't afford my taxes anymore. What are you gonna do?
One of the things I found when I first started running for office in 2012, for the 2013 election, and I started talking to people, and going door to door and talking to them, and they said, my taxes are higher than my mortgage. What can we do? And I struggled with that. I struggled with that question literally for years because I didn't have an answer at first. In 2015 when I ran, I was pushing for the enterprise zone. I wanted to link the enterprise zone, one of the factors of the enterprise zone, to the nuclear storage, because I feel it's the same as an abandoned coal mine or a brownfield. I even brought this to Senator Bush at the time and said, let's amend the statute, the state statute that defines a blighted area that qualifies for an enterprise zone. And let's add nuclear storage to it. And she actually kind of like, that's not a bad idea. It never went anywhere at the time. Maybe we can get something done on that in the future. So we need, like I said before, we need to change the equation. We need to do something to restore the balance and help the homeowners. We can use, if we get federal funds, we can use that leverage. But I think let's put the homeowners at the front of the line rather than at the back. Because I know all the taxing bodies, and I understand where they're coming from. They're going to have their hands out and they're going to say, okay, give us a slice of the money and we'll see if we can lower your taxes. I say let's flip the equation. Let's lower the taxes for the homeowners first. If we get the money. compensation for nuclear waste storage is a complicated issue. There's usually, it's a community that's being asked, we want to store this in your front yard. And usually there's some kind of compensation. It's either in civic institutions or tax credits, something over the long term that compensates those people for the impact of having that material. We didn't have a choice. This was left to us. When they built the plant in '73, when they opened it, I don't think anybody told the city fathers, oh, by the way, when we close the plant, you're going to be stuck with this. I think they probably said, when they close the plant, you'll never know because it'll all be gone. Well, because of political situations in Washington, we're stuck with it. And we're stuck with it for at least 30 years. Because Yucca Mountain's never going to open. And even if they did open it tomorrow, it would take 30 years to prepare it. So, every day that goes by, the timeline gets longer. So, we can sit here and accept it, or we can start agitating, start calling our senators. And there are 30 senators in the United States that have nuclear power plants. People in Byron and Braidwood and Quincy and Quad Cities are looking down the barrel of the future we are living now. So you think they might want to have an interest in what we do? We should do it. We should start asking. We should be compensated. And for more than just 7 years. And that's all I got to say on it.
So my question to everybody on stage is, what have you done already to help this community that you want to elect you?
Actually, I found that the way I help the community is through public service, really. Inspired by a coworker of mine, starting in 2004, I volunteered as an election judge. And I volunteered for all of Lake County. So I was an at-large. I would go anywhere in the county. I did that for several years, and then that's when I decided to run for office. And out of the first time I ran for office in 2013, I was offered an opportunity to become a trustee of the board for the Lake County Public Water District. And I said, okay, and I have learned tons of things. It's a great group of people on the board. We're dealing with lakefront environmental issues, we're dealing with infrastructure, we're dealing with budgets. It's been an education, and it's helped clarify how I see public service. And it's also opened opportunities. I've worked with Beverly Mull in Bridge Builders, which is a program in the Zion Police Department to do community outreach and community interaction. So I've been working with them for the past couple of years, and I look forward to doing that some more. It's mostly, it's getting involved. It's going to the city council meetings. I've been going to city council meetings now since 2011. I think I may have actually gone to more meetings than some of the members who are currently sitting on the city council. So it's being involved, it's sharing information, and reaching out to the public.